How's it going? Today I wanted to speak about um, the quiet talking, and this can be transversed in many different ways. But basically, what it is a secret form of talking, and it is the fading out speaking. And ever since music was around, people have been using the fading out speaking to say more, and um, and the fading out speaking is also how to learn how to build up what you have to say more, you know, and it is percussion based, but it is also volume based and distance based and area based and mass based and space based and, filling up that space based. And anyway, what you have to learn how to do is when you finish talking, and just saying like, I'll probably finish that. You know, I think it's easy to understand that I'd say black people are a little bit better at it, at the quiet thing, because for one, Africans, which is where, the whole thing originates from. I mean, that I observe the most because I like to see where our origin could be from, is that the African language has a lot of clicking in it. Right? I'm going bang, and that there's all something going on. It's all little mini gears in there. That's usually oral sex. To me, I think that, or just like a bag with like a ball in it rolling around. But it really needs to not be that. It needs to be refined into something else besides that. And the clicking is like really the same clicking as like when you swallow and it goes, a little bit in the very back of the mouth. And and it has those little tiny little sounds and little sucking and little like those types of things. And it's almost like two people kissing a you know or like a little puppy, a little dog or you know and when you finish speaking though, you kind of have to build a distance with it. You have to be able to build it up, and you have to also be able to build it back down. And it's just like one of these burps. That's not involuntary. It's like it builds up this type of pressure, and then that pressure, you know, comes out of the throat, and that's how it works. And just like involuntary swallow, which is very habitual. You know, I just swallowed again. You know, and that all has to do with lyrics and songs. And in a song, the fading out it isn't really important what is said, because we're looking at the quiet part of it and just the fact that you're talking to yourself like in a mirror. But there's something else, I mean, it's not perfectly symmetrical, because there has to be some movement, but it needs to be perfectly symmetrical, to where, know, what you're saying is like, I said, what I'm saying, then now I'm seeing the air placement of it, of what I'm saying, and, how what I'm saying, converts, with, the air dysplasia. You're going to look at anything but kissing and anything but, like vulgar stuff, which, seems to be probably and is the first clue, it seems like, but it is definitely not, the first clue. It's not the first clue. And I promise that. But you're going to see the exchange of air, and And like those little mini tiny, little microscopic words are um, actually bigger than the words that we speak. And being able to understand how that works, you can be really good at language. And learning an African language is probably one of the best choices if you want to learn this the most. And it's got to be one, that can encapsulate that clicking and popping properly, instead of it being to where, the clicking and popping could be in someone else's body. You need to be able to bring that clicking and popping, instead of it like, and it sounds like it's like Thailand, you know. And, you want it to be able to go all the way into the body to where it references a piece of your, your lymph node, of your vocal chambers, that's your hobby, these little areas inside, you know. You have to be able to work all that, and when you go, that is, I mean, for me, could even translate, you know, to not, swallowing, just a yellow ball, and a phlegm, and I think that's annoying, and just kind of learn how that works, and learn the linguistics of it. And the more that you learn that, basically the wider range that you would be able to have, and probably the more examples you would be able to make, and the more build up, that becomes almost, like a burp. You would be able to have manifest control over that, And then, when you speak to someone and then it stops, you'll be able to, you can build a trail behind it. It's kind of like, it's anything but, when you're on a computer and, there's a cursor and then it has that little trail behind it. Not that, because you can move the cursor and then it'll kind of trail behind it if you put the trails on it, It's kind of like that, and then when it stops, that trail will come and catch up with it, But it will have more to say, and will, finishing expressing the rest, of what needs to be said. It's a trail, basically. It's like having a, anything but a tracer, what it would be. And it'd be like the opposite of a tracer. It's not something that is lag, but it's something that basically builds up the acceleration, and then when it gets to its point, it has more to follow through with. That way it can continue going on, with the, with the reach, with the distance and covering more ground to get to the next word said, And when you trail out in a song, and everything that you said was there, you got to kind of look at it kind of like, when that clicking and popping, could be like and not make it fully. And you'd have to speak all the way around it until that little one involuntary movement can, and actually, ding, like, Mario, and then jumps and hits the box, and then he gets his coin, instead of it to where Mario doesn't get his coin. Because Mario has to get his coin. There's no way around it. And if you do, and then it gets it, but Mario didn't get his coin. Was the reason it got it? Then yes, but that's still part of the trail. Like if you have other ways for things to make sense, then it has other, reasons why that one involuntary that was voluntary had a end to it, so you have to learn how that works. And the involuntary, is not something that's involuntary, but we'll get on that on another one, but this is basically just teaching you, how to use your vocals, to, like, okay, let's say I'm about to burp, and there's a sandwich, You know, if it's in here,